Here's the best blood test for niacin status. Hi, I'm Dr. Chris Masterjohn of chrismasterjohnphd.com, and this is Chris Masterjohn Lite, where the name of the game is details, schmetails, just tell me what works. And today we're going to talk about how to test niacin status. So in the last episode, I talked about how to get enough niacin from food, but you might still have something about your metabolism or something about your absorption of tryptophan or something about your absorption of niacin or something about disease processes that are consuming niacin. Any of these things could cause you to run low in niacin, even though you seem to be doing everything right from the point of view of diet. And so if you have any signs or symptoms of needing more niacin, and for those, go back to the episode that I did on how to know if you need more niacin. I'll link to that in the description. Particularly then, or if you just want to be proactive, you should test your niacin status. So what is the best way to do that? Well, I strongly recommend against using simply blood levels of niacin or niacin metabolites. LabCorp and Quest offer tests like this, and I do not think those are good for looking at anything other than recent intake of niacin. What I do think is good is either the erythrocyte level of NAD or the whole blood level of NAD, which is going to be mostly in erythrocytes. And I think in particular, the best thing to do overall is to measure erythrocyte NAD and NADPH. You can use these two numbers to calculate what is known as the niacin number. If you divide the NADH by the NADPH, that gives you the niacin number. It'll look something like 1 or 1.5 or 1.75. If you look at some sources, they do the same thing and then they multiply it by 100. Those sources will report 100, 150, 175, and so on. So if we take the simpler version that is not multiplied by 100, what we want to see is the average healthy person should have a niacin number around 1.75. If you fall under 1.0, you start to get in serious danger of niacin deficiency. If you're down at 0.5 or 0.6, you basically are at danger of clinical pellagra. So you absolutely want to be above 1.0, and you preferably, to be optimal, want to be up around 1.75. Studies suggest that niacin supplementation can raise that to 6.0, which is very high compared to the average apparently healthy person out there. So I think what we will see in the coming years is we're going to see supplements of niacin, particularly in the form of nicotinamide riboside, measured against health endpoints. And hopefully what we see is, as we see more and more studies showing what it is and isn't good for in health outcomes, we will be able to correlate that with the niacin number. So ideally, we'd be able to say, hey, maybe the average healthy person has 1.75, but actually you can maximize your health when you get up to 2.25 or 2.5, and going up to 3 or 4 or 5 doesn't actually do anything for you. But we don't have that data yet. What we do have is we can measure these and we can make sure that you're at 1.75. And then you subjectively, if you want to experiment with niacin supplementation, you could see for yourself if a positive experience on health outcomes for you as an individual correlates with a certain niacin number. And if it does, you can track the niacin number as your metric to make sure that over time you're staying up where you know your health is the best. So to get this test in the United States, use HDRI, the Health Diagnostics Research Institute, and order their NADH and NADPH. In the description of this episode, I will link to the website, and to order that, you need to use a requisition form. So I'll put the details of what to look for on the requisition form in the description of this episode. This episode is brought to you by Vitamins and Minerals 101. This is my new free 30-day course providing one lesson a day on each nutrient delivered straight to your inbox. It can go to your email or it can go to your Facebook Messenger. If you get the Messenger version, it's taught by Chris Masterbot, my baby bot. It's more interactive, there are more emojis, and there are more jokes. But both email and Facebook Messenger are incredibly educational. Each lesson covers why the nutrient is important to your health, how to know if you have too little or too much or the wrong balance with other nutrients, how to get it from food, and when you should think about supplementing. It is not a technical or advanced course. It is completely minimum in its technical jargon, and it is designed for the beginner with no background in nutrition and no background beyond high school in the basic sciences. Nevertheless, many people who have backgrounds in nutrition are saying that it is an amazing refresher course full of nuggets of valuable information in each lesson. Sign up completely free by Facebook Messenger or by email at chrismasterjohnphd.com/101. This episode is brought to you by Testing Nutritional Status, the ultimate cheat sheet. This is my recipe to empower you to banish any deficiency or nutritional imbalance from your body. I've been through the pain of my teeth falling apart, my stomach being in constant pain, and my OCD going off the rails during my stint with veganism, to the point where panic attacks were the norm and I was afraid to eat any of the food in my house. I've been through the path of healing using nutrient-dense animal foods to nourish all the systems of my body and become a new person. But I've also learned that my needs change over time. The red meat and liver that were so healing in my recovery from veganism later started sapping my energy and brain power, only to find out that I'm genetically predisposed to iron overload and need to manage it with blood donations. And I've learned from friends, colleagues, and clients that everyone is different. Your needs are not mine. Mine aren't what they were 10 years ago. Yours won't be what they are now in 10 years. That's why we need a precise recipe to know exactly what's missing, exactly what's overloaded, exactly what's imbalanced, and an action plan to fix things, and a way to measure our success. That's what I've done with Testing Nutritional Status, the ultimate cheat sheet. Get your copy at chrismasterjohnphd.com/cheat sheet and use the code LITE20, that's LITE and the number 20, LITE20 to get 20% off. For ad-free versions of these episodes with transcripts that you can read and getting early access to the episodes often weeks or maybe even months ahead of time, you can sign up for the CMJ Masterpass at chrismasterjohnphd.com/masterpass and use the code LITE10 to get 10% lifetime discount. The audio of this episode was enhanced and post-processed by Bob Devodian of Torian Mixing. You can find more of his work at torianonlinemixing.com. All right, I hope you found this useful. Signing off, this is Chris Masterjohn of chrismasterjohnphd.com. This has been Chris Masterjohn Lite, and I will see you in the next episode.